All right, welcome to Lesson 3, North American People. We're going to be talking about the Native Americans and how they lived their life in North America. As you can see, there's different subgroups here, and according to where they lived, that's the way, the resources they used and the way of life that they had. If you look at the top, it's a lot colder, so obviously Native Americans adapted to their situation and climate here. If you look a little lower, they adapted and lived in their area according to the climate and resources down there. So we're going to answer some of these questions. How did they use their natural resources? How did geography and climate affect their basic needs? What are mound builders, and who arrived after the Native Americans? So Native Americans today, there's still Native Americans that live in reservations. If you look around the map in North America, all these pins are basically where Native American reservations are today. And also, Native Americans live in normal cities just like where we live. They just integrate the Native American culture within, that city. Moving on, a way of life. So all of these Native Americans lived a way of life according to the section or resources that were available. So some were hunters. They killed animals for food. Some were gatherers. They gathered different vegetables and fruit to eat. Also, farming goes along with that. They planted different vegetables and fruit to eat. And also, they were fishermen. They caught fish, they ate the fish, and they used to do this with spears. Pretty interesting. So, some natural resources that were important for these Native Americans: forest and trees. They built their houses out of them, they built canoes out of them, like in this picture. Rivers and lakes were super important. They could transport or move along the lake and get to different places while also trading and fishing. Also, they could use the water. Water is very important in everyday life. Animals. So, animals were used as food, also clothing, and tools and weapons. If you look in this picture here, we got some artifacts, and these were actually bones from different animals that Native Americans used as tools. Some one animal that was very important to some Native Americans was the buffalo. If you look here, these are all the different things and parts of the buffalo that were used as different things for the Native Americans, such as let's look at what we got. Brains were used as food, skull, um, tools. We got bones as arrowheads, jewelry. We got tongue as meat. So all of these things had, different resources for the Native Americans to use within the buffalo. Housing. We had long houses. These were built out of trees. We had teepees that they set up at different places. These people were nomadic or Native Americans where they were constantly moving. So they would set up temporary teepees. We had pueblos. If you look here, this is actually a village, a mini village that the Puebloans actually built. So very interesting. And then also the igloos. So up in the north, Native Americans adapted to their weather and lived in igloos. So something called mound builders were around in North America where they built these mounds, and this was to bury their dead underneath. So these were influenced by the early civilizations that we talked about: the Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Incan Empire. So these are around North America. One famous one is in Cahokia, Illinois today. So this is about 6 hours south, 4 to 6 hours south in St. Louis. Right near St. Louis, there's a famous mound called Cahokia. And there's a few pictures. All right, Native Americans, then explorers. So after the Native Americans were in North America, the explorers, the Spanish explorers from Spain, Portugal, ended up coming over. These new people had different cultures and a way of life, and they would arrive and change the Native American world forever. The Europeans, explorers. Um, Something they brought over was disease, and it killed 75% of the Native American population. This is a picture of smallpox. So this really did kill a lot of the Native Americans.